Imagine this. You've walked through decades of life, full of sacrifice, laughter, mistakes, and victories. And now, you're at a stage where every step you take should bring you closer to peace, not further from it. But just when you've earned the right to slow down, breathe, and finally enjoy what you've built, someone appears standing in your way. Not an enemy, but someone close, a sibling, a child, a friend. And they ask you, in words or in silence, to carry just one more thing. Let's be honest. At this point in your life, the last thing you need is to take on responsibilities that were never yours to begin with. You're not a lifeguard, you're not a rescue team. You're someone who has already carried more than your fair share. So why are you still being asked to carry the emotional baggage, financial stress, or constant demands of others? Have you ever felt like that? Like you're rowing a boat for everyone while they sit back and watch, or like you're an emotional ATM, there to hand out support, time, or money, without anyone asking how you feel. If that sounds familiar, I want you to do something important. Pause this video for just a moment and share a time in the comments when you felt used, drained, or overwhelmed by someone else's expectations. Your story might help someone else realize they're not alone. And while you're there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It helps us bring more of this kind of content to people who need it most. Now, stay with me until the end of this video, because there's a message waiting for you. Something powerful that could change the way you see your life from this point forward. This isn't about being selfish. It's about finally giving yourself permission to protect your peace. And the first step in doing that is recognizing what you're still carrying that was never meant to be yours. It often starts so quietly, doesn't it? A simple favor, a quick lift, a bit of help. Just this once. You say yes because you care, because you're kind, because that's who you are. But before you realize it, that one small favor becomes a chain around your neck. And suddenly, you're carrying a burden that was never meant to be yours. It's subtle at first. You're asked to step in, to support, to hold something together for someone else. And because you're reliable, they trust you to do it, again and again, until what began as a gesture of kindness turns into a silent obligation. You become the foundation others rely on. But who's there for you? Think of it like a rope. With each added task, each emotional weight, that rope wears thinner. And when it finally snaps, it's you who breaks, not the people who handed you the weight, but the one who carried it all in silence. There comes a moment in life when you have to ask, is this my load to bear? Because carrying what isn't yours doesn't just cost you time. It costs your emotional well-being, your energy, your peace. And none of that is replaceable. They ask you to step in as if you're unbreakable, as if your love means you should. Never say no. But let's make something clear. Love without boundaries becomes abuse, and you, after all you've given, all you've done, deserve more than that. You are not a permanent solution to someone else's problems. You're not the backup plan when others don't want to stand on their own. You are not a bank, not a babysitter, not a nurse. You are a human being with needs, limits, and a right to peace. Saying no doesn't make you cruel. It makes you conscious. And if someone can't see that, perhaps they were never really looking at you in the first place. So as we go on, hold this thought close. The burdens you carry shape your days, and when your days shape your life. Be careful what and who you continue to carry. Picture this. You're enjoying a quiet morning, sipping your tea, perhaps listening to the birds or just embracing the calm. And then your phone rings. It's someone familiar, a relative, a child, maybe an old friend. You answer, thinking they're calling to check in, but soon enough you realize they didn't call to ask how you're doing. They called because they need something, specifically money. At first it feels like a small request, a temporary loan, a just until payday sort of thing. But deep down, you've felt this before, haven't you? That gut feeling that this won't be the end of it. And more often than not, you're right. Lending money at this stage in your life is not just about figures on a bank statement. It's about what it costs you beyond the money, your peace of mind, your trust, your emotional balance. Because the truth is, most loans between loved ones don't just stretch wallets. They stretch relationships and often break them. And let's be honest, how many of those loans come back the way they went out? They rarely return with gratitude. Instead, they come with silence, distance, or even resentment if you dare to ask about repayment. Worse, You're made to feel guilty for even mentioning it. The emotional blackmail begins. But you're my parent. You're the only one I can count on. Don't you care? And suddenly your kindness is weaponized against you. But you have to ask yourself, if the roles were reversed, if you were in a moment of need, would that same person stand for you? If not, then why must you keep sacrificing your peace? To rescue someone who won't throw the rope back? This isn't about being selfish. It's about safeguarding what you've worked so hard to build. Your retirement, your comfort, your well-being. They matter. You're not here to be anyone's safety net at the expense of your own stability. So next time the phone rings with a story and an outstretched hand, ask yourself, will helping them hurt me? If the answer is yes, then you already know what you need to do. Now imagine this. You're sitting peacefully in your own home, the one you built, the one filled with memories, warmth, and quiet. And then, out of nowhere, a knock on the emotional door. A child calls. A sibling texts. Mom, Dad, you need to talk to your brother. Things are getting bad. Or maybe it's, can't you step in? We're family after all. And just like that, you're pulled into a battlefield that isn't yours, one you never asked to enter. You want to help. Of course you do. You think, maybe if I just speak with them, they'll calm down. You try to mediate, to be the voice of reason. But before long, you're not a peacemaker, you're the target. Accusations fly, voices rise, and you're caught in the middle paying the price for problems you didn't cause. The hardest part? Sometimes the battleground is your own home. A place that once meant love and security becomes the subject of arguments, children fighting over inheritance, possessions, or who deserves more. That sacred space, your safe haven, is reduced to a transaction, a symbol of division instead of unity. And while they argue, you sit there, heart heavy, soul tired, wondering where the love went. You tried to hold things together, but instead, the cracks widened. Because here's the truth. Not all conflicts can be fixed, and not all families want peace more than power. You cannot keep sacrificing your well-being just to be the glue for people who don't want to stick together. You've done your part. You've guided, supported, provided, and now more than ever you deserve calm, not chaos. If someone asks you to solve a family conflict, ask yourself, will this restore peace or destroy mine? Because no one should be expected to bleed in the name of someone else's war. You are not a referee. You're not the fixer. And it is not your job to preserve the harmony for people who create the noise. Sometimes choosing not to get involved is the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself. There comes a point in life when you feel you've earned the right to just be, to dress how you like, to speak how you speak, to enjoy your routines, your music, your memories, all the things that make you you. But then, someone you love, a child, a grandchild, even a friend, says something that cuts deep. Why? Do you still talk like that? You're too old to dress like this. Don't be so rigid, times have changed. And just like that, your identity, shaped over decades, is treated like an outdated item to be replaced, as if all the experiences, beliefs, and habits you've built are now somehow wrong. But let's be clear. What they're really asking you to do is erase yourself. Not adjust. Erase. To let go of the very things that have carried you through life, just to make others feel more comfortable. And for what? For the illusion of fitting in? For their idea of what's acceptable? You're not a version of someone else's idea. You are whole, made of stories, of traditions, of scars and joy. You've lived through chapters they haven't even begun. And now they want to rewrite yours? There is nothing more painful than feeling like you must apologize for being yourself, to dim your light so someone else can feel at ease in the room. But this life, your life, is not a rehearsal for someone else's approval. Those habits, they call old-fashioned. They're the rhythm of your day, that music they mock. It carries your memories, the clothes, the words, the gestures. They all carry meaning. They are not flaws. They are fingerprints of a life truly lived. Let no one tell you that who you are needs changing, especially not now. Your authenticity is your crown. Wear it proudly. Because the greatest loss isn't when others forget who you are. It's when you start forgetting yourself, trying to please everyone else. If anyone asked you to change the essence of who you are just to make them feel better, the answer is simple: no. And now we reach the hardest one to spot, and often the hardest to refuse. It happens quietly, wrapped in affection, coated in guilt. Someone close to you, perhaps your child, a sibling, even a dear friend, begins to ask for something subtle but deeply invasive. Not money, not help, but this: put my feelings before your own. They say it without saying it. Don't do that, it upsets me. Why can't you just do it my way? If you really loved me, you wouldn't choose this. And suddenly, it's not about your decisions anymore. It's about their comfort, their peace, their version of how your life should look. But here's what no one says aloud. Asking you to place their emotions above your own isn't love. It's control. They want you to fold as quietly, without protest, so they can feel at ease, even if it means you lose a part of yourself in the process. Let me ask you something. If your happiness makes someone uncomfortable, is that your fault or their limitation? You're not here to be a background character in someone else's life. You're not a puppet to be adjusted each time your truth disrupts their illusion. You've earned the right to live in alignment with your values, your joy, your rhythm. And the moment you start shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's world, that's the moment you begin to disappear from your own. They might say, "You're being difficult, selfish, cold," but you know the truth. You're finally choosing yourself. And in doing so, you're teaching others to either accept you or step aside. This chapter of your life is not about managing other people's discomfort. It's about living freely, honestly, fully. If someone tries to make you feel guilty for protecting your peace, it's time to draw the line. Because if you don't, no one will draw it for you. And now, as we close, I want to leave you with something important. The message I promised at the beginning. If today's words echoed something you've lived, felt, or endured, then this video wasn't just a message. It was permission to let go, to say no, to choose yourself. Now tell me in the comments, which part spoke to you the loudest? And don't forget, subscribe, so you never miss another chance to hear what no one else dares to say. We'll see you in the next one.